Alrighty then, hello. Sorry about that. Hello everybody, I'm back with another Mystery With topic, and in this topic I will be giving my full thoughts on the Monsterverse. A previous video I did where I talked about Godzilla, so this time I'm going to talk about the Monsterverse because it's a franchise that's recent and I want to give more full thoughts on it and stuff like that. So let's get started. And before I get started, if you just enter my channel and of course don't know where the hell you landed on, this is a section in my YouTube channel where I talk about certain topics, give my thoughts on it, and maybe sometimes give a little history based on the topic. So I hope that helps you understand where you're at. But besides that, let's get started on this episode or this video of Mr. Weird Thought Topic, Godzilla and the Monsterverse. Alright, so let's get started on the whole Monsterverse. What is the Monsterverse? For those who don't know what the Monsterverse is, it's basically a franchise that Legendary made to basically make their own take of Godzilla, which of course the original owners is Toho and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, it's been pretty good, the franchise of the whole Monsterverse and stuff like that. And to start with, the Monsterverse started with Godzilla 2014 and was directed by if I'm not correct, his name was Garth Edwards, if I'm not correct, that's his name, that directed the first Godzilla movie in 2014, which it of course came out in May let me look up right here, May 16 of 2014, which is basically the grounding for the rest of the movies to start the whole franchise. And to give a quick plot or summary, what the whole plot of Godzilla is, basically the whole concept of Godzilla is an actual creature that has been living and existing since the prehistoric times, since almost beginning of the creation of animals, the creation of evolution, stuff like that, and shows that he's not the only one there, which scientists discover a creature as well called the Muto, which stands for Mutant Unidentified Terrestrial Object. And they find like a cocoon thing, or basically a burial of Godzilla's ancestors, which are called Dagons, which is a type of species of Godzilla. And they find how it's dead, but it's also, it also contains something in the body, which also leads to Japan having one of those mutos and covering itself and cocooning itself and absorbing radioactive and energies and stuff like that, which created this whole event with the character, how his father, while trying to let people know what was going on, lost his wife or his mother as well, and created this whole thing, which later on they realized that it wasn't just a random event, but it was an event that was caused by something based on a creature. It wasn't random, it had a purpose of why it was caused, stuff like that. And that's when we get to learn more about the creatures, the people. Godzilla isn't just a creature. He's a guardian of the earth that keeps balance in nature. Whatever's preventing it from being unbalanced, he fixes it. And of course it leads on to this great fight of the Mutos basically being a parasite to Godzilla's species and to whole thing, and etc, etc. And it's a great movie. You should go watch it if you haven't, if you want to get into Godzilla. I recommend going to the Monsterverse and stuff like that. But if you want to know more about Godzilla in general, you can go watch a video that I did previously where I talked about Godzilla, a little the history and stuff like that. I will put the link down below so you can click that video and then maybe come back here. But besides that, when I saw that movie, I will be honest, I was not a fan of it. I did not like it because I was picky with any American take on Godzilla. Because for those who don't know, this is the second time America tries to make a Godzilla movie. The first time they tried it was in 1998 with the movie Godzilla, which I don't even call him Godzilla, I call him Zilla, which it was a failure and stuff like that. Because the reason why is, and Toho was very, I feel like when they finally agreed to it, they were like, they wanted to make sure that if we're giving you the rights, make sure you do this right. Because the first time you failed and you messed up. Because if you don't know about the 1998 was, they created Godzilla, but instead of making Godzilla, they just made him a lizard that was radioactive and basically an iguana, a big iguana, a dinosaur-like thing, which as a kaiju movie, great. As a Godzilla movie, yeah, no. But besides that, like I said, this is the second franchise and the second time America makes it, which did a pretty good job, which it was successful. It had a great review and stuff like that, which also led into Kong Skull Island, which is basically King Kong, but he's not really considered King Kong, but yeah. He's basically, the whole plot is, it takes place in the 70s, and a group of people find an island uninhabited, unknown, that they want to discover it. And at first they say, oh, the reason we're trying to discover it is because Russia's interested in it, and we want to get there first, which is a lie. Because one of the guys was attacked by Godzilla during the World War II or something like that, and knows that there's monsters exist, which of course in that island he wants to prove that monsters exist as well, which they introduce Kong, that he's a huge ass monster. And by the way, Kong, we all know King Kong is basically not that big. If we all know him, he's maybe like a couple 100 feet tall, if I'm not correct, based on but this one was like they made him twice or 3 times bigger because they needed to set him up to fight Godzilla and stuff like that. And the whole plot is, they realize that this creature is basically the protector of this island, and if he doesn't protect his natural enemy, that creature is going to take over and stuff like that. And of course, that's the second movie. The third movie that was then introduced was Godzilla, King of the Monsters, was basically a sequel to Godzilla, which basically is a continuing where Godzilla is still a guardian, he's still a keeper, a person who keeps balance, but the whole world, once they find out that monsters exist, they want to destroy these creatures and stuff like that. But then there's a character from the first movie called Dr. Serizawa, which he basically says, no, Godzilla isn't just a creature, he's an animal, he's just like every other animal, he's doing his job to protect what needs to be protected. And a lot of people and the military, the government say, no, you need to destroy these monsters. And then of course like a criminal evil based organization wants to set these monsters free because they feel like that's the right thing to do. Let them go. And of course it shows and leads into this monster Ghidorah, which is also based on the Toho monsters, which they actually use a lot of creatures and monsters and concepts from Toho's movies, which it has Mothra, Rodan, and then the rest of the creatures that they also introduced to the whole franchise. Those 4, Godzilla, Mothra, Ghidorah, Rodan, are the only original monsters that are from the Toho. But besides the other monsters that make an appearance, that's all legendary. Legendary just made those creatures for this whole franchise. And of course, in this movie, they find out that Godzilla had a rival, another prehistoric predator that was bigger, meaner, and stuff like that, known as Ghidorah. And of course, they let him free and realize that he's not an actual alpha of the monsters, but he's a fake alpha that kills whoever is the leader and takes over and does whatever he wants, which of course leads to this great fight, this great argument, and stuff like that. I hope, and I do apologize if I'm not summarizing or explaining the whole thing correctly, but I've never been great at it, but I'm really trying my best, so I do apologize. Then of course leads up to the 4th movie, which is Godzilla vs. Kong, which came out recently, which I loved. It was perfect. They did a lot of great job. The fights were great. And they finally gave us the conclusion of who would actually win, Godzilla or Kong. Spoiler alert. Just based on the guess, you can tell who wins, which I won't spoil it. If you haven't watched it or want to watch it, I won't spoil it, but you can have a general idea of who wins. But yeah, besides all that, that's the whole, franchise of the Monsterverse. It's been interesting because like I said, the whole Monsterverse started in May 16, 2014, which is of course the start of Godzilla, and letting you know that they own basically 4 movies. They're about to make 2 shows, an Godzilla live action series and a Skull Island that's based on Kong's island as an anime, if I'm not correct. That's how they're gonna do it. And then they have 4 novelizations: Godzilla, the official movie novelization; Kong Skull Island, the official movie novelization; Godzilla vs. Kong, the official movie novelization; Godzilla King of the Monsters, the movie official novelization. And yes, I'm saying the full title so it's, but you get the gist. Then we have 5 comic and graphic novels: Godzilla Awakening, which is basically a prequel, or if it's either a prequel or a sequel or something like that, but it connects to the movie. Then we have Kong Skull Island, The Birth of Kong, which is basically that's a prequel to give us the origin of who Kong is, how was he born, and his history. Then we have Godzilla Aftershock, which of course is a sequel, but a prequel to Godzilla King of the Monsters. And then we have Godzilla Domination, and then Kingdom Kong, which both of them tell us kind of what Godzilla was doing after King of the Monsters, what was Kong doing before he fought Godzilla in the Godzilla vs. Kong. Yeah, I know it's complicated. It makes more sense if you search it up, so yeah. But I will have each image here so to help you understand, stuff like that. And of course they have art books, other things, but besides that, it shows that the franchise is doing well, that they're also leading up to do another sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong, which they haven't released a title to, but it shows that this franchise is doing pretty good. It's going strong and stuff like that. And the person who started the whole Monsterverse, just to give you an idea, his name was, and yes, I have my phone right next to me to give off information, stuff like that, in case you're wondering what am I looking at. It was the CEO, Thomas Tull, which is credit to the Legendary Entertainment founder. He's the one that gave the idea to start this whole franchise, the Monsterverse, and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, my whole take on the Monsterverse is, like I said, when it started, I was not a fan of, because I felt like it was going to be like kind of similar to Godzilla, the 1998. But the more I watched the movie, the more I took on details and stuff here that I felt like, then I realized at the same time, while, trying to really understand this movie, I realized, and I do apologize for repeating stuff, but this movie did a great job portraying Godzilla, how he was portrayed in Toho. They did a good job. They did his design like how he would look, maybe in a realistic take. How, they made sure that if he's big, he needs to have big feet. He needs to have feet that help him keep him stable. His roar is more like a realistic roar instead of using the iconic roar that we all know of, which I'm going to play the original roar right now. And here is the roar that they use in the movie. So as you can tell the difference, but they do use his original roar in Godzilla King of the Monsters. They use it in a way kind of doing that reference, kind of, because when I saw Godzilla King of the Monsters, I loved it. I enjoyed it. Yes, there were some things that I hated about it, how like they focused more on the people thing. Okay, let me rephrase that. The people's problems, the whole, like, and not focus on the monsters, the fighting and stuff like that. Yes, they would give you a perspective of what people were like if they were seeing the fights, which it was cool. But a lot of people just wanted to see the monsters fight, and we didn't really get to see that in the traditional fight that we would just, they would just show the fighting. It would just do weird. And a lot of the scenes were dark, and we really couldn't see them. But besides that, the movie was still great. I'll be honest, Godzilla King of the Monsters is one of my favorites because it feels like a Toho classic Godzilla movie. And, there were still problems here and there, like there were some of the jokes that they would do in the movie, like this one.
Ghidorah, the one who's many.
What?
She said gonorrhea.
Huh?
Ghidorah.
Yeah, it's just, it felt like it wasn't necessary, but it was like really, did they really just make that joke? But besides that, the whole movie I enjoyed. When it came to Kong Skull Island, even though I'll be honest, I'm a big fan of King Kong or Kong, but in his own franchise, like his own thing. Once he enters the world of Godzilla, that's when I'm like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of him anymore. Like I don't know who he is. I don't know what this big ape is. I don't know who he is. But his movie was interesting. They made him give us an understanding of who this monster is. He's not just an ape. He's intelligent. He can understand. He can connect with people. He was basically the monster that had more connection with people than Godzilla. Godzilla was more nature and other monsters. Because if you look at the whole thing with Godzilla, it's like he tolerates humans and has no problems humans being there. But the moment humans do something, that's when he's like, no. We're having a problem. Now you've caught my attention. Now you've pissed me off. Stuff like that. Which leads into Godzilla vs. Kong, which I enjoyed. The whole plot, how they made them fight really made sense in my perspective. Like, I liked it, and I didn't hear a lot of criticism from that movie. And they brought back another iconic classic from the Toho, Mechagodzilla, which is basically a robot version of Godzilla, or a cybernetic version of Godzilla, copy, which I loved how Godzilla could sense that there was something wrong. And for those who don't understand what I said, is Godzilla psychic? In Godzilla King of the Monsters, what he does is he absorbs Mothra, which is a moth. But her ability was sensing everything that was happening around the world. Like, she can sense it. So when she died and her power came or was being absorbed by him, he took over that ability to sense and everything else. And of course, if you watch that movie, you notice that Godzilla's destroying stuff, that he's attacking again, which he's really never done in the previous movies. But it makes sense why. He senses a bigger threat. He senses something that's not natural, and he's finding it and looking it to destroy it, which makes sense. And I find it interesting that Godzilla is not only just a mindless monster that makes that he does certain stuff. He actually shows that he can think, that he senses when something's not right. He knows what's good and what's bad, and that's what I liked about it, because there have been moments where Godzilla interacts with people, and he looks at them like knowing, I know you helped me, or I know you're not a good person, and I can tell, I can sense it, and that's what I liked. Like, compared to Godzilla from the original movies, all he really is a monster that thinks, that destroys, and when it comes to fighting a monster, he's ready to fight it. He wants to fight that monster. But in this version, it's similar, but at the same time, it's like, I'm fighting you, but I'm fighting you for a reason. Not just to fight you. Not because I like to fight, but you shouldn't be here. You don't belong here. You shouldn't exist. So I need to remove you because you're destroying something that I'm trying to protect. And, stuff like that. And that's why I like the Monsterverse. And the question is, should the whole concept of Monsterverse, the Legendaries movie, continue? Or should it go back to Toho? And I will be honest, I feel like Legendary should keep making more movies as much as they can. But I would like them to make movies enough where if they want to end the franchise, it makes sense to end it and do it right. Make a big conclusion on why they stopped making the movies. Not just end the movie and that's all. And be like, wait, why did they end it? Did it get canceled? No, Because I'll be honest, I still love Toho making movies. And for those who know, can Toho make Godzilla movies? Yes and no. They can't make movies that I think comes around the same time as Legendary's movies and stuff like that. Like, they can only make certain times, or they can use Godzilla in certain things, and that's about all. They can't. It's like, all right, let me use your thing, but you gotta agree that you gotta let us do our thing. You gotta let us promote it. You gotta let us, have our moments, and you can't make anything that's gonna steal our thunder. That's basically how the contract worked. And if I'm not correct, after Godzilla vs. Kong, the contract ended. It was over. Like, they were done with the whole thing. But it looks like Toho may let them continue a little bit longer, which I'm okay with. But there is a point where, I'll be honest, I want Toho to bring back the classic, iconic, the roar, the theme, the feeling of Godzilla that I love, that I grew up with, that I'm still watching. Because I'll be honest, I'm still collecting the Godzilla movies. And every time I watch it, I was like, even though the Monsterverse made this, I still love what Toho did. But like I said, I'll be honest, I can't complain. And the Legendary Studios and stuff like that are doing a great job. And that's a starting point to get into Godzilla. If you want to get into Godzilla but don't know where, watch the Monsterverse. It will help you understand more, kind of a better take of Godzilla, even though his origin isn't used how Toho made it, how he was just a monster that made an appearance in 1954 that destroys the city, and they had to destroy it by doing this. No, they don't use that origin or whatever, because that's technically his origin in Toho. But his origin is, he's a creature that's from millions and millions of years, that's survived other big disasters, and just like him, that there are other creatures as well, but he's the alpha, and he's the one that's protecting and keeping things in balance, in check, and be like, hey, you're doing something wrong. I don't like what you're doing. You either stop or I'm gonna kill you. Sorry about that. If you hear that, that's my dog. Yeah, he's just doing weird things. Anyway, I'm gonna stop it right here before I keep on ranting and stuff like that. But to summarize everything what I said, I love the Monsterverse. Come here. Let's show the audience. There you go. But besides that, they're doing a pretty good job. The stories are good. The movie has action. But it still has that like human story plot where it's like it's not necessary at some points, but it still does make the movie pretty good. You good to go, bud. But I can't complain. At first I could, because I didn't want them to ruin the whole franchise of Godzilla, the reputation. But for now, I give the whole Godzilla, the whole Monsterverse, if I had to rate it completely, I would give it either an 8.5 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, because there's still some things that I wish they would improve or do better and stuff like that. But besides that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what other topics you want me to talk about. Do you want me to talk more about Godzilla? Because I'm also thinking of doing where I rate every Godzilla movie and review every movie. Talk about what I loved, what I hate about it, stuff like that. And I will, again, retake on the Monsterverse as well. But besides that, again, to finally finish the video, I'm done talking. Thank you for watching. And like I always say, I'm weird. Don't judge.